I used when I was happy, sad, angry. And I used because I used. I used because I felt bad not to. I was 18 when I started drinking. And when I hit my rock bottom, I was 22. I think I kind of just did it, kind of fit in, I guess, to have fun with friends and stuff, because everybody else was kind of doing it at the same time, forget what issues I had going on. But my life wasn't that problematic. I was probably your typical teenager thinking that I had more problems than I really had. I always had this idea that, I can control it. I'm going to use smart. Well, I'm just going to drink. I'll never smoke weed. And then I'd smoke weed, and then I was never going to do mushrooms and acid. Then I started doing mushrooms and acid, then I wasn't going to, and I just kept setting up these walls, I call them, for myself. And they crashed like Jenga. It was that bad. It was just kind of I would be presented with the opportunity, it would be around, and I would kind of just out of curiosity wonder, what's that feel like? And at cocaine, I kind of crossed a little bit of a line, because I did that pretty regularly. And what ended up getting me off cocaine so much was I ended up just doing pills. So I went to the opiates. Eventually, I knew a friend who had done heroin, or I had no idea, but I had come to the conclusion in my own head that, what's the difference? It's an opiate for an opiate kind of thing. The first time I shut out with heroin was kind of that aha drug moment, where if that drug, like I always say, if heroin was a woman, I would have took her to Vegas and married her right then and there. And that's when I took off to the races with that. And I was doing heroin every day and just doing whatever I could to get money. I was more focused on getting high than I was anything else in my life. School suffered. Everything suffered. My bottom, I'd say, it was a combination of this 1 week. I ended up going and getting dope with my friends, and then we shot up. And I remember the last thing they asked me was, "How is it?" And I just said, "Is it?" I said, "It was good." And then that was it. And I woke up outside my car with paramedics kneeling over me. And I had just overdosed. And the paramedics ended up coming, taking me to the hospital, and had IV of Narcan. It was there for a couple hours, but right after I got out of the hospital, I just went out and got high again. So that was just that was my love affair with the drug, my need. I needed it. I couldn't go without it. My parents had this ultimatum with me that, either you go to rehab outpatient and you do the work, or you don't live here anymore. And me being a cocky one, figured, all right, fine, I'm not living here anymore. And I was just like, just drop me off at my so-called friend's house. And so I was staying there for just 2 nights, and then my friend just ended up telling me, you can't stay here anymore. And so my option was either live out in the streets or call my parents and try and get back and do what they said. We were walking around, and we walked around the Liberty Pole. I remember seeing just the homeless people sleeping on the benches. I thought, if I can't, I'm not built to be homeless. I won't make it. I will end up just croaking.
When Rob had first come to Unity, I felt like he was really here because his parents wanted him here. They were strongly encouraging him to get help. They had been through a lot as well. He was very detached from the process. A lot of things have to change in recovery. So I think Rob really struggled with, okay, I have to change all my friends, I have to change where I hang out, I have to change, these behaviors that he had been doing for such a long time.
I guess my concept of recovery was just like Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill just for it to come back down.
I would say the actual recovery began once he started actually listening in the group to what the group members had to offer. We do a lot of education piece on, how is it that you start recovery, how do you maintain sobriety, all of that. And then the rest of the group has a lot to offer as far as their experiences, and there's really a great cohesion between the members that I think really jump-started Rob.
It was definitely a place to just get stuff off my chest, kind of just express myself, where a place I felt comfortable to do that. I remember saying one day that you gotta want it. It's something that needs your full attention, and it needs to come first. My recovery has to come before anything else in my life.
Rob has come so far. He does a lot of reflection. He thinks about exactly what it is that he can take from meetings or groups or whatever and applies it to his life. So he's continually working on himself. His parents were very involved in the process. A lot of work was done with his mother coming in saying, okay, how are we going to make this work in our home? Not just what you learn at treatment, but how do we apply this outside?
I attend usually regular AA meetings. I found, I guess, faith, I'd say it. I became a Buddhist. I changed my cell phone number. I ended up stopped hanging out with all the friends. I stopped going to the same places. Finally got back in school. I'm going to actually become a counselor, an addictions counselor. I'm on very good terms with my family, with my parents, and just all around, everything's just turned much more positive. I actually don't wake up and hate myself in the morning. It's a good change.
He is actually a recovery coach for my group, so he still continues to attend 3 groups a week, but in a different role. He's there to share his experience. He's there to say, I was once in your shoes. I was in the beginning of recovery at one point. He has a lot of hope that he can instill in others, and for them to see exactly what he's doing makes it seem possible, and it is possible.
It sounds daunting, and it sounds very strenuous, but it isn't. It becomes, as time goes on, I feel it becomes more in my nature to be this way, and more, this is just how I do things. As using drugs became a habit, and waking up in the morning and finding money and stuff, get high became a habit, this has replaced that habit, and it's become a lot more beneficial habit. It's made me stronger for it.